Welcome to the Association 4.0 podcast, your association's no fluff playbook to navigating and thriving in Industry 4.0 or the digital marketplace. Each week, we bring expert insights to help you and your association stay ahead of the curve.
Hello, my name is Sherry Budziak, and I'm the host of the Association 4.0 podcast. I am also the founder and CEO at .org Source, a consultancy to associations, and co-founder of .org Community. Today, my guest is Kate Emshoff. Kate is the Director of Business Operations at the American Medical Association. Previously, she was Senior Director of Client Management at Innovatus Group, and she is employed in various capacities at the Radiological Society of North America for about 12 years. So I'm so excited for you to join me today, Kate. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
So the Director of Business Operations at the AMA sounds like an exciting and big job. I know that our listeners will be interested in hearing about your experience. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at the AMA?
Sure. Well, it's not quite as big of a role as it sounds like. So because the AMA is such a large organization, I'm sure there's other people that oversee business operations of different business units. I work specifically with the AMA Education Center and most specifically on the EdHub product.
All right, great.
So it's focusing on typical things like financials and the overall operations. But I think the thing that's unique and probably something not often found in associations is we do operate in a matrixed environment. And I kind of consider the unofficial main role of my job as being a translator. So making sure different teams are talking to each other, making sure communication's going up, down, sideways, everybody's crystal clear on what they're trying to do and how they should be doing it.
So what shifts has the AMA made as a result of the pandemic?
So I joined in November of 21. And so I've gone through several opportunities when we thought, things were over. As we both know, we're still navigating our way back to that. I would say compared to most organizations, we've taken a rather conservative approach, wanting to protect the safety of employees. And so I can't really speak to how things were before, but I will say there's clearly more flexibility around when people come into the office, and they've taken a bit of again, business unit by business unit approach with that. And so ours specifically is rather flexible, with people working from home if they need to, or coming in the office when they want to. I would say some of our work has shifted as well, and it's because of the science and information coming out around the pandemic, and how do we help protect against misinformation. I think that's become more of a focus overall of the organization. And then also, just things coming out of most recently, the DOPS division, and helping physicians navigate that. Preventing gun violence has also been a big focus. So things like these issues have risen up, and the AMA makes a very strong stance, and we align our work to support those.
So one of the issues that I've been hearing kind of post-pandemic is women that have left the workforce. And I was talking to a woman the other day that, she left the workforce for a year or so and is now trying to get back in to the workforce. So what do you feel associations can do to keep their female talent and help maintain that healthy balance between work and family responsibilities and all the other things going on in the world?
Boy, this one is, it hits very close to home. I would say, one of the things I've noticed is I've moved on in my career in associations. I have 3 small children, and it's become a lonelier and lonelier space, and I think with the pandemic especially, women just aren't, I think as a society, aren't really told that a priority can be your career. Mother is a role that I play, but it's not all that I am. And I think there's not a lot of support to that shows women ways that you can stay in the workforce. I feel very privileged that I've had the opportunity to have reasonable and good childcare, to have a partner that supports me in this. And, specifically, I've been working at AMA on looking at our parental leave policy. Is that a specific way? How can we help support women to stay in the workforce, at least pay them while they're on parental leave and make sure they can take a long enough time to bond with their child and fathers as well. And I think people don't realize, disability insurance is offered a lot, but that's not offered because of the medical condition of pregnancies required. It's not offered to people that don't give birth to their children, that adopt or foster. So I did some research, and I think I contacted you as well around who is offering a good parental leave policy, and it's focused specifically on associations. And candidly, it was really hard to find.
Yeah.
Other than RSNA, where I used to work, I don't think I found another one that had 12 weeks. And so, and if you take that standard compared to like where tech companies are or financial organizations, that's behind the curve. So I think providing paid parental leave is one surefire place to start, but there's so much more that we can all be doing. And isn't it weird? Because most associations I've seen are almost all women. Like, how are we not demanding this?
Yeah, it is. I know for our team, I mean, especially when you're also looking to attract younger talent. I have two women on my team. One, she homeschools, so the morning she's busy with that. And the other one has her kids in school in the afternoon. She's like, oh my gosh, Sherry, there's like so much homework. And so we just kind of move around that, but and it is hard to manage folks, because some folks are typical 9 to 5s, but having like it's a flexibility and being agile. And as long as, the work is getting done, we kind of say we don't care when it gets done, as long as it's getting done. But there's a lot of responsibility on both sides that comes with that. Like, you got to have the right people and personalities. But I do think that more and more, we just have to be paying attention, right? Because when we're not providing that flexibility, people they leave the workforce, or they figured out like, well, I didn't have to work for that year. Maybe we can figure out how to do less or downsize or whatever that case might be. But you're right. It's like in the association space is majority of women, and we haven't figured, we're not doing a really good job.
Yeah. And I mean, so many women have left and come back at associations too, I found, and are frustrated. Like, I could be here, or I should be here, but I took that time off. And, why can't we make it all work? And I get that it's not for everybody, but I just really feel for the people that there's no choice, and hopefully feel like associations could be a great place for women to continue their careers. So
yeah, absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about the importance of culture in attracting great talent. I mean, we just kind of started talking about it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts?
I think it can be really overwhelming to talk about culture because it can mean so many things. But I don't think there's often wrong answers. And I think it's important to be crystal clear on the type of culture you're trying to create. And so what's most important? I mean, even my day-to-day work, but like identifying your priorities of what are the most important things that you want to instill in your teams. For me is curiosity and courage, making sure there's a safe place for people to be curious. I think people say that a lot, but that safety part is pretty essential. And yeah, I think also to your earlier point, which gets into all things post-pandemic, is flexibility. And that's tied to performance as well. Like, if somebody's a rock star, I don't care when or where or how you work, because you're a rock star, you're getting it all done and you're doing it really well. So why would I ever impose on that, So yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel that DEI impacts culture?
Well, so at the AMA specifically, we are super dedicated to this. So every business unit has a dedicated plan for not just seeing DEI as this separate thing that we talk about and think about, but how to embed it in everything that we do. And so we're not there yet where I would say all of our equity work is deeply embedded, but it's something that we focus on quite a bit. And creating that kind of inclusive culture where everybody gets to participate is essential. And you won't hear those voices. You won't have those diverse perspectives. You won't truly achieve the greatness you can achieve with innovation if you don't have that inclusive culture. So I honestly think it's everything.
So what are, most organizations are facing some challenges with employees returning to the office or not. I know you and I have talked about this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what has the experience been at the AMA?
So this is like one of the first times in my career, probably, where I feel like such an outlier with this, because I love going to the office. I'm so happy to see people again. And I, especially like having started a new role during the pandemic, I think my ability to like feel really vulnerable and ask really dumb questions was so much greater in person than it was remotely. Because it's like I could read your body language. I felt safer. I could just be like, I don't really understand what this means. I couldn't do that virtually. And so while I fully appreciate that it's not for everyone, and I see people that are really successful and productive and happier at home, and like, good for you. I want to express how much I enjoy working from home and that it brings me joy without feeling threatening or that I'm trying to take it away from somebody else. And I do think there can be, a healthy balance of times where we do come together. And I'm hoping that things will level out, because I do sense this, like, if I come in, then you're going to make me keep coming in. And that's not the case. It's just, let's fill your cup. And then I can fill my cup, and then we'll spend some time apart, and then we can come together again. But I think it really does come down to that flexibility thing again. That's what everybody really wants. They just want to be able to work where they need to work when they need to do it.
Yeah. I had a client of mine. They've been, I wouldn't say fully remote, but basically you had the option to come into the office or not. Mm-hmm. And for many, many years. And the CEO asked one of the women, you had to basically like save your spot or rent your spot out, whatever you want to call it. Like you had to like sign up that I want this office. Mm-hmm. So she would come in and she had the same office every day that she would sign up for, and would come in and shut the door. And he's like, and she was an editor, and he was like, you're the last person that needs to be here. Like, why are you here? And she's like, I just need to be at the office. I can't deal with working from home. And she's like, I come here, do my work, leave it, go home. So so I do think like everybody's, different. And I think at different times in your life, things are different, right? Like things are going on, personally, that you have to be closer to home because you have an aging parent, or there's something else going on where, the commuting time or whatever is a challenge, but yeah. So anyway, so I guess on that note, what do you feel as a leader that you can do to have a workplace where everybody enjoys like wanting to come to work? Like, are we ordering pizza? Like, what are we doing?
Well, I mean, kind of to counteract the point that you made about the editor, I think the worst thing you could do is have everybody come in and sit back to back on Zoom calls, which I've also seen and been guilty of, not protecting my team's time against that and my own time against that. So I think protecting time for those like casual collisions where you can just bump into people, have those conversations. I mean, that is the invaluable thing that is, I can't really express how to make it happen. And you can't make sure everybody's doing it at the same time, but as much as you could control that, I think it would help. I mean, I I think a lot of people would argue against this, but I do think food is a connector. And if there's an opportunity to share a meal together, do something together that's not just talking about our next project, to like create those deeper relationships, is helpful. But I also think just like getting people in, as we give them those experiences and they see some value in coming in where they're not just sitting at their desk, I think it will become something people can look forward to, and it will just take time, and it might have to feel a little more required in the beginning, but I'm hopeful with time it will get better.
Yeah. I'm actually a little bit surprised that we've kind of gone like with so many people just not wanting to go back to the office after this experience. I guess I wouldn't have anticipated that. For myself, we've always had a virtual office. However, we were always at client sites. So,
Sure.
and the big difference is, as you talked about, kind of those conversations that come up, I would be walking through the hall. We'd be working on a digital transformation project, and I'd be walking down the hall, and somebody would say, "Oh, Sherry, did you know, like, we just approved this new membership model?" And I'm like, "What? You guys just implemented the membership module in the AMS. Like, now that's like a $50,000 change. Like, what did you just do?" But those are the types of things that you would hear that someone's like, "Oh, it's not related to the AMS project. Like, this is my own thing." And they don't understand the impact. So we're missing, I think, a lot of that going on. But, I think there is a balance, though, for sure. So tell me about your leadership style and how you come to kind of develop your leadership style and your characteristics.
It's taken me some time to own this. But I'm definitely one of those people that has to go all in. Like, I bring my whole self to work. I definitely am an oversharer. And I sometimes get burned. I trust everybody way too fast. Way too much. But then I also learn really fast who people are and how they work. And so, it's been valuable in that the relationships that I have are super deep and very trusting. And, I have that with a lot of my team, with all of my team now, but it's, something that, I've had to just kind of own, because I read about creating boundaries and where you should and shouldn't be polite enough or politically correct enough and all of those things. And I think when people know who you are as a person and get that deep understanding, it just makes everybody happier to be here, because we spend a lot of time here, and I am not going to be happy if I have to be surface the whole time. And so I get to know my team well. I get to know what they're excited about. I look for opportunities for them wherever I can. And sometimes that's hard. It means like that they're not going to be working with me directly anymore. But I would consider some of my team members some of my closest friends now, people that I've stayed in touch with for years and years. And it's really wonderful for my life in general outside of work.
That's nice. So it's kind of a different topic. Where do you see competition for associations in the marketplace, and is AMA addressing this?
Yes, I'm sure there's competition in the marketplace. Associations are so hard, right? Because there's often like 8 different businesses operating under one umbrella. So if you were to look at the publishing marketplace or the meetings marketplace, like they're all so different and have their own challenges and competitors. I would say the most interesting thing about working at an association, despite all of that, is that often we aren't competitive, that we are working on similar things for very different audiences. And so you can pick up the phone and be like, what are you doing in this virtual meeting setting? Or, how did you break through that library consortia to get that deal? Because I want to get on that too. And there's just opportunity to be, I would say, like hyper collaborative, where other industries, you don't have that.
Yeah, that's good. So how do you see technology continuing to change the way that we do business?
I mean, it's everything. I consider, like, if someone were to ask me what I'm doing for my job, I would say, like, I work on a technology product. I work on a tech team. And I've worked for, very much your traditional tech startup type environments, and technology solutions that even serve associations. And that's essentially what I'm doing. I think, there's a lot of places where associations shouldn't be software developers or creating technology, but definitely leveraging the tools that are out there. And that should be the focus of pretty much everything that you're doing at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. So do you think that the AMA's business model will change in the future? And if so, why or why not?
Sure. I think everything has been so disrupted. You've got, again, so many different business models floating around that provide different revenue streams, which is healthy and good. I mean, I think it's really important for all associations to look at their revenue and make sure it's balanced and not relying on one place. And like when I was at RSNA, we would always talk about what would we do if our big meeting went away, and then we never imagined, and it did. And like, thank goodness you have other revenue streams. So I suspect they will continue to change, and pandemic was an accelerator for everything. And I think if nothing else, we have to be, I hate to even use the word like scenario planning again, because I think we all have PTSD from that. But so maybe not to that extreme, but like thinking proactively about what's next and where will things continue to evolve versus being reactionary. Hopefully, no more pandemics in our future, but boy, what a lesson, and just anything can happen.
Yeah. Well, Kate, thank you so much for this conversation and your advice. It's always great to hear from someone with your breadth of association experience, and it was great to connect with you. So if somebody wants to reach you, can they find you on LinkedIn or?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great.
Thanks.
Well,
Sherry.
Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
You got it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and discovered tips and information that will add value to your leadership style and your association. .org Source specializes in positioning teams for success with solutions for technology, strategy, and marketing. Please contact us at info@orgsource.com or visit www.orgsource.com to find out how to keep your organization on track to Association 4.0.